Major funding for Eden's Lost and Found is made possible by CDM, a global consulting firm that seeks to create lasting environmental and infrastructure solutions to strengthen a community's future. The Scott's Miracle-Gro Company, dedicated to the sustainability of a beautiful world through environmental stewardship. The John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. The Boeing Company, committed to ongoing innovation in environmental conservation. Boeing, Forever New Frontiers. William Penn Foundation, advancing Greater Philadelphia as a vital, just, and caring community. Additional funding by Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, the Illinois Sustainable Education Project, APTA, FJC, Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, and Philadelphia Water Department.
Cities, each as unique as the people who live there. Reflections of our American soul, a soul not without stain. On each of our 4 programs, we portray the exciting new revival of a great American city through the personal stories of the dreamers, schemers, and just plain folk struggling to make that transformation happen.
We are tomorrow what we start today.
Tonight on Eden's Lost and Found, Philadelphia, the holy experiment.
Hi, I'm David Morris. I wasn't born here in Philadelphia, but this is where I choose to live. After we lost our home in 1994 to the Los Angeles earthquake, my wife, Susan, and I made the decision to move our family back here to her hometown, Philadelphia. Now, this city is more than just a place to work and raise our children, because Philadelphia and its people are a continuing source of inspiration to us. After seeing this episode of Eden's Lost and Found, I think you'll understand why we feel proud to call ourselves Philadelphians.
Amazingly, Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, owes its creation to a bitter conflict between a father and a son. In 1665, Sir William Penn led a charmed life. He was a wealthy, highly honored war hero and extremely high up in the court of King Charles II. His perfect life had only one flaw: his son. Young William was the antithesis of his father. A pacifist and budding Quaker, he was expelled from Oxford and imprisoned several times for his radical views and insolence, including refusing to doff his hat in the presence of the king. Father and son fought constantly. William threatened to disinherit his son unless he recanted his ways. Young William refused and was kicked out of his father's house. Soon after, he was again arrested. Near death, Sir William bailed out his son one last time. Desperate to leave him some sort of future outside of prison or execution, Sir William offered to arrange for a large land grant in the Americas, where his rebel son could live and govern as he pleased. And so began the holy experiment. So much of what we take for granted today as the American way of life, we owe to William Penn and his attempt to make a utopian community out of Pennsylvania, which he actually named not after himself, but his deceased father, with whom he finally reconciled. William Penn felt he had a calling from God to create a society free of violence and tyranny, a haven for religious tolerance and representative government. William Penn became the first city planner in the New World when he designed Philadelphia, named after the biblical city, literally meaning city of brotherly love. In his schematics for the new city, Penn introduced a concept of green towns with large grid-like streets, green belts, parks, and public squares. Philadelphians, rich or poor, were to live in their own homes. Each had a garden separating them from their neighbors. Agriculture was encouraged, as Penn considered it the most healthy, moral way to make a living. Philadelphia achieved many American firsts, including the first public parks, first public schools, first fire department, first botanical garden, first hospital, the first American theater company, the first anti-slavery society. Benjamin Franklin created the first public library, and Betsy Ross stitched the first American flag here. Philadelphia was, of course, the first capital of the United States, and the U.S. Constitution was drawn up and first read here. By the first half of the 20th century, Philadelphia was a thriving metropolis with a robust economy, fueled by a strong manufacturing base. At its peak, its population grew to more than 2.1 million people. As time passed, the quality of life was compromised to feed this industrial boom. And then, like many industrial cities, Philadelphia was hit hard as our national economy shifted away from heavy manufacturing. As factories closed or moved away, Philadelphia witnessed an unprecedented population loss of over 500,000 people. Some neighborhoods lost half to two-thirds of their residents. In 2001, the city laid claim to a staggering 26,000 vacant homes, 31,000 vacant lots, and 2,500 vacant industrial and commercial buildings.
When I became the mayor, we had literally, I guess probably 30, 40,000 abandoned buildings in the city. We had vacant lots all over the place. Many of them were trash-strewn lots. Some of them hadn't been cleaned, you know, in 15, 20, 25 years.
A major element of the Mayor's Neighborhood Transformation Initiative was to begin to tackle these conditions at a scale where we could really have an impact. And so we're using funds that we were able to borrow to demolish 6,000 or 7,000 of these buildings. As with all journeys, you have to take that first step. That's the way you do it. And in many ways, it's one step at a time, one neighborhood at a time, one block at a time.
And so the holy experiment continues.
Flowers make people extremely happy. It's the color, the fragrance, the beauty, it just lifts the spirits.
Everybody looks forward to the Philadelphia Flower Show. It's sort of like the rite of springtime coming in, almost more than Groundhog Day around here.
Devoted to William Penn's concept of a green country town, in 1827, 10 wealthy gentlemen farmers formed the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. 2 years later, they held the first annual Philadelphia Flower Show. Over 175 years later, the Philadelphia Flower Show continues to amaze. Held in early March, it has become the largest indoor flower show in the world, receiving over 300,000 visitors and generating up to $1 million a year in profit.
One of the fascinating aspects of horticulture is its ability to affect how people feel about themselves, and it's one of the reasons I've been involved in this work for so long. It feeds the soul, it feeds the personal soul, and it also feeds the soul of a community. It can feed the soul of an entire city.
In 1974, as Philadelphia neighborhoods and parks plunged further into abandonment and ruin, these eclectic plant lovers embarked on their own holy experiment. They called it Philadelphia Green. Philadelphia Green uses its horticultural expertise, as well as all profits from the flower show, to build and help restore neighborhoods in a variety of ways. However, there is one catch.
But we had one fundamental rule, and that was we didn't do anything for anybody on any block unless 85% of the people living on the block agreed that they wanted to be part of the program. And if you have that many, then you're pretty sure to have success.
Because what you need is people. You need people with passion, people who care, and people who understand what horticulture can do. And I use the word horticulture gently because really it's gardening and it's digging and it's getting your hands dirty and it's using that power to help people in communities to make their lives better and also better for all the people who are around them.
Philadelphia Green is based on the concept that neighborhoods can only be saved if the people within those communities care enough to help make this change a real and lasting part of their lives.
Make me feel good. Anything you can do for us to help nature, to help the community, to make the community better, and everything, to make people come together and work, it's all good, because nobody's going to do it but us.
What began as a small gardening project over 30 years ago has grown into the largest and most comprehensive urban greening effort in the nation, as residents, community organizations, private businesses, and city government use horticulture to transform once blighted neighborhoods. Sometimes it takes only one person to ignite a spirit of change. Doris Gwaltney has lived all her life in West Philly. She remembers Carroll Park before its decline.
My parents used to date in Carroll Park back in the 30s when it was a place to be, a place to go, and a destination on Sundays for young people. Through the years, the park descended into abuse and neglect.
This was a total wilderness, deserted and forgotten.
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. Glass all, you couldn't even walk through here. If you had dogs or whatever, you had to keep them on the outside of the park because there's so much glass inside.
Doris attended many local meetings to save Carroll Park from the drug dealers and criminals who had taken over.
Through the years, many people have tried to come into Carroll Park, trying to start a restoration project, and always it has faded away, came to nothing, just died out.
As these efforts to save the park withered from lack of funding, Doris grew skeptical.
For the presentation from Philadelphia Green, we went to the church to see what everyone had to say about Carroll Park once again. And there was a little white girl making a presentation. Once again, they're going to save Carroll Park. So, we're sitting there skeptically, at least I was. Well, how are we going to save Carroll Park this time? The little white girl said, we have $30,000 for you through the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. The ears pricked up. Ah, they have the money. This is what made the difference.
After restoring Carroll Park with the help of Philadelphia Green, Doris and her neighbors now work hard to maintain and keep it beautiful.
Because if Doris and her group of women stopped coming out here, in a matter of time, it would revert back.
6 months.
So the ability to be present and be out there always, because that element is just on the fringe.
Yes, lurking.
Lurking.
I came out here every Monday at 4 o'clock to pick up trash, even in the ice and snow. I was out here picking up trash. Because every Monday at 4 o'clock, I wanted the neighbors around here to look out their windows and see that crazy woman that's still out here picking up trash. I wanted the neighbors to know that we were here, and we were here to stay.
She is Carroll Park. She lives for Carroll Park. She eats for Carroll Park. She stays here all the time. And without Doris, Carroll Park would not be in the position that it's in today.
Carroll Park is one of the city's approximately 150 neighborhood parks, 40 of which are now partnered with Philadelphia Green. These neighborhood parks echo back to William Penn's master plan, that for every 10 acres developed, one be put aside for trees and public space. In accordance with Penn's concept, in the mid-19th century, the city bought thousands of acres of undeveloped land along the Schuylkill River, above the intakes of the Fairmount Waterworks. This was to avert any development that might contaminate Philadelphia's primary water source.
Philadelphia was extremely innovative, one of the first cities in the world to look at source water protection and protecting the drinking water supply by buying land up and down the river in order to protect it from industry.
This land, acquired to help protect the city's water supply, is now part of the Fairmount Park system, one of the largest landscape parks in our nation.
We are 9,200 acres. We encompass all of the city of Philadelphia. The phrase has been used quite recently that we are a city within a park rather than a park within a city, and it's a line we like to use because it really does talk about what Fairmount Park as a system means for Philadelphia. But if you talk about the great bones of Philadelphia, with William Penn's 5 original squares to make this a green country town.
William Penn championed the wholesomeness of an agrarian society. An important element in Philly's current revitalization is urban agriculture. All over Philadelphia, thousands of community gardens are sprouting on what were once abandoned lots. One of the oldest and most successful is Aspen Farms in West Philadelphia's Mill Creek neighborhood.
We like to call it a green oasis in the city of concrete.
Hayward Ford helped found and has been a volunteer at Aspen Farms since it began in 1975.
This particular property, houses were on it at one point, and it was demolition done by the city, and consequently, vacant property, people dumped. So it became very unsightly. And the neighbors got together. In our instance, we were lucky when we started. There was a pilot program called Philadelphia Greening. And they came along and they grew as we grew. So it was a win-win situation for both people and the city. And tasty.
Community gardens not only fuel the body, they create societies where there were none, as neighbors meet neighbors while weeding tomatoes and green beans. The effects of such gardens are far more sustaining than good fresh food and flowers.
In terms of the neighborhood, it has had a tremendous impact. We're standing on a house here that 10 years ago would have sold for $40,000. And it now would sell for 10 times that. And that's not just a reflection of real estate values. There's a confidence and positive attitude about this neighborhood that comes directly from not only the garden, but the experience we've all had in the garden. It's brought a group of people together that have been divided for literally decades. And it's the first thing in my 35 years of living in this neighborhood that has really done that.
Certain enterprising individuals have taken the concept of urban agriculture a step further, attempting to raise cash crops on what was once abandoned land. Mary Seton Corboy is one of these urban pioneers.
Why an urban farm? At one point in my previous life, I had been a chef, and so I knew that restaurants, even in the middle of the season, the Pennsylvania season, weren't getting Pennsylvania produce. So one thing sort of led to another. I don't think when we started, I don't think we realized that there weren't other urban farms. We thought everybody probably had this idea at some point.
Started in 1997, Greens Grove Farm is located on the former site of a galvanized steel plant in the city's Kensington section. Covering a square city block and slightly under an acre, one of the serious obstacles Mary faces is how to farm on contaminated soil.
The irony or the humor or the pathos or whatever it is, to take this land that was an industrial, Superfund cleanup site and turn it into a farm is just, I mean, to me, that's the Eden part of this. And, you know, it remains to be seen whether or not I'm Eve.
Mary uses hydroponic farming to grow much of her produce above the land.
When you work like this outside and you see the whole world, or the world of Kensington, pass you by every single day. This is a community that a lot of people still walk. They walk to the store, they walk to visit each other. They sit on their stoops, they hang out of their windows, and so you hear this whole life that's going on around you. And quite honestly, it wasn't a life that I was familiar with. So we changed the nature of what we were doing from growing just for restaurants to the farm stand and the nursery.
I really like it because I was raised here, but my grandparents are from Puerto Rico, and I always wanted to know what it was like to be in an environment where the fruits and the vegetables felt like they were natural.
Despite her modest successes, the life of this urban pioneer ain't easy.
No, and if I had had any indication at all how not easy it was, going to be, I wouldn't. The truth is, I wouldn't have gotten started because, you know, it's interesting. People say, "Oh, you're a pioneer." Da, da, da. Now you're a pioneer. Initially, you're just a nutcase. And I don't think that I was really cut out to be a pioneer. But what happened is, after a couple of years where things didn't always go exactly the way I wanted, I really just sort of dug my heels in at that point. Now it's pure obstinance that keeps me here. It has nothing to do with optimism or belief or anything else. I'm just, you know, I'm determined I'm going to beat this thing. I don't care what it takes.
Urban farming can only endure if there's a demand for their products. Businesses like the White Dog Cafe contribute to Philadelphia's revival by encouraging local production.
We really pride ourselves in buying almost all of our produce in season from small local farmers. We buy year-round our meat and animal products from local small farmers. As far as I'm concerned, our survival really depends on making business decisions in the best interest of the common good. And I believe that business people who make decisions in the best interest of all are the ones who are most successful and will have longevity. And I feel that's definitely been a key to the success of the 21-year-old White Dog Cafe.
Judy Wicks is a shrewd businesswoman with a conscience. She insists her purveyors treat their employees fairly and produce only humanely raised animal products and sustainably grown produce.
The goat cheese is Dougie Newbold's. Dougie says that when she kisses her goat's ears, the cheese tastes better, you know, and I think that's true. The basil comes from the Dorenstrikes farm, Mark and Judy Dorenstrike. So we have personal relationships with all of the farmers. And of course we have personal relationships with the people who work here, with our customers, and that's one of the hallmarks and the advantages of a small business, because you have the capacity to actually know everyone.
Judy's idealism isn't what wins awards and fills tables. The food here is delicious.
We're using leeks, asparagus, fresh corn, oyster mushrooms from the Ole Valley Mushroom Farm, cherry tomatoes and organic penne pasta, and a light corn broth.
Some cities all look alike because you see the same stores everywhere, and they're the transnational corporations that really control the economy. And when you go to a city where there's unique shops that only exist in Philadelphia or only exist in Seattle or San Francisco or wherever, it gives character and individuality to the city, but it also gives economic power to the city, where capital is retained and recirculated within the community rather than bleeding money out.
Every fall, Judy throws a block party to celebrate the harvest.
Because I think celebration and fun is a large part of urban life, and Philadelphia is known for our great block parties.
Join us in the Dance of the Ripe Tomatoes, the last dance of summer. So, with the tomatoes ready to roll.
Urban and rural cultures merge as neighbors and local farmers kick up their heels in the dance of the giant tomatoes. For one night at least, it's easy to imagine Philadelphia as a green country town. There is also much to celebrate in Norris Square. Today, this little Puerto Rico of Philadelphia is a great community to live in. But it wasn't always so. Iris Brown was born and raised in Puerto Rico. Like most of the residents around Norris Square, she came to Philadelphia for a better life.
This was paradise. It was beautiful, it was beautiful. I'm talking about 30 years ago, and other people started moving in. The neighborhood changed. It took us by surprise. But the neighborhood was totally infected by drugs. Then that was the situation.
In those days, Norris Square was a no man's land ruled by drug lords and gangs.
I was very afraid. It was a nightmare. And my mother, one bullet went through her storm door, her regular door, and it went straight to a wall, where my sister was sitting there on a sofa with a baby in her hands.
A handful of Latina mothers got tired of burying their children, victims of drive-by shootings and drug overdoses. Led by Iris Brown and Tomasito Romero, these women rallied neighborhood groups for weekly anti-drug marches. In the summer of 1990, Iris and her friends brought their children and took over an abandoned lot in the heart of enemy territory. They proceeded to paint a mural, plant fruit trees, and install a small swimming pool. It was a battle of wills, but eventually the pushers and gangs moved on.
We have worked so hard in there, and we love the results that have been coming out of all that hard work.
Today, Las Parcelas Park is a gathering place for the neighborhood. The focal point of the garden is a casita, which is modeled after the traditional homes in Puerto Rico. Iris sees this as an opportunity to teach children about their Puerto Rican heritage. Iris has big plans. She's currently rehabbing an abandoned house into a restaurant.
This is going to be our restaurant. And the name is going to be Bambula Ese Allá. And Bambula Ese Allá really doesn't have any meaning, but it's part of our African traditions. And what we are going to do here is going to be that we are going to rescue all these recipes, all these dishes from Africa that they're still in Puerto Rico. And we want to teach them.
When the restaurant opens, she hopes to sponsor cooking classes and allow diners to go out back and actually pick greens and vegetables for their meal.
Oh, wow. It has been an incredible because it changed from a nightmare to a place where now the politicians are moving in. And that is a big difference.
In March of 2005, Iris Brown flew to Paris, where she was honored for her humanitarian work by receiving the first ever U.S. Terre de Femme Award, sponsored by the Yves Rocher Foundation. Iris spent the $6,000 cash prize on another neighborhood project. She calls it investing in her family's future.
So we want to thank you for coming to our neighborhood. It is a poor neighborhood, but it's a community, and we are proud of it.
Within the walls of the museums of Philadelphia are contained some of the finest art collections in the world. However, you don't need an admission ticket to see some of the best art in the city.
I don't buy into the notion that art belongs solely behind the walls of galleries and museums. I don't know who made that rule, and murals level the playing field that say where art should and shouldn't be, and I think that's extraordinary.
When muralist Jane Golden moved to Philadelphia in 1984, she was hired to head up a 6-week youth program to fight what was considered the growing blight of graffiti.
Anti-graffiti, although a wonderful and visionary program, was essentially a cleanup program. And what I realized is that these graffiti writers had extraordinary talent. They've been stealing the magazine Art in America. They've been sneaking into museums. They loved abstract expressionism, and they loved mural making. We had lots of skills in common. They were great wall hunters. They liked painting large. They didn't mind working outside in the weather. And suddenly, this little program just took off from just one tiny mural to suddenly 2-story to 3-story murals. And then suddenly, it was like a renaissance happening throughout Philadelphia. You know, you can fence vacant lots. You can rehabilitate housing. You can enforce laws and fix potholes. And all those things are important, and they sort of make a city go. But at the heart, I mean, the heart of community revitalization is sort of our ability to touch people's hearts and souls. And I think that art can do that. I think art has a profound impact on people. And so when you talk about neighborhood and community rejuvenation, I don't know how you leave art out of that equation. We have like 1,100 kids in our after-school program. Those kids attend schools where art is not an option, has never been an option, and will not be an option. If we're serious about reaching kids who've fallen through the cracks, then we need to think out of the box. And this is one way of reaching them, because for many kids, this is how they articulate themselves, through art.
As an artist, you know, it gives us the opportunity to become the hands or the voice of the community. So the community has all these issues, and as artists, we're given the opportunity to work with them through mural arts and voice some of the issues that are happening within the community visually. Sometimes it's issues of crimes, drugs, violence, whatever. So these paintings aren't just pretty pictures. There's some meaning behind them. There's several layers behind the concepts with these meetings. So the artists and those involved in the community melt and bind ideas.
But I think that's also something really important to understand, is that it's really the artists working with the community, but that it's not just like the community saying, okay, we want this, and you paint this flower here and that there and that there. And it's also not the artist coming and saying, this is what I'm gonna put on your wall. But it's that like interaction.
Sure.
And both groups have some ideas, right? But it's like it's collaboration, and you allow a little bit of like discussion, and then you kind of go to like someplace else, I think.
That's where the magic takes place.
That's what we get excited about, that kind of magic. Like,
oh, look, we're starting a mural right here. Hey, there's our crew. There's our crew. For me, it's a privilege to do this work, to work with children, to go into prisons and shelters where it's so grim you just wouldn't believe it, and be able to make things better.
Painting 120 to 130 murals a year, no mural program in the world accomplishes as much. Since the program started, more than 2,500 murals have sprung up around Philadelphia, and the waiting list for more murals is extremely long.
Because we have a waiting list of 1,000 people who want murals. It's 1,000 citizens in the city who want art in their lives. And that, to me, is a powerful testament.
When the city destroys a row house, it exposes the flat, windowless, common wall. To Jane, these walls are blank canvases.
Well, I'm a wall hunter. You know, I notice great blank walls. People drive with me, and I'm like, pull over. They're like, why? Like, look at that wall. We're looking for a good blank wall, and there is one right near here. I know it. I like know every good blank wall in the city. In fact, you know, people call up our office with blank walls. It's like a tip line. It's great. There it is. You know, and the nice thing is, with 1,000 people on our waiting list, it's like mural fever in the city. But then we get, every time we get a grant or there's a special project to do, then I get to drive around and we put notes through people's mail slots. This is very grassroots. And so half the people in Philadelphia wake up to a note from me saying, hello, I love your wall. Please call our office, and with the city of Philadelphia, we can do something really beautiful here. And you know what? People call back. Do you know who owns this wall? The goodness. See, I like this wall for two reasons. Well, there are many reasons. There's the garden, and there's traffic coming this way and traffic coming that way. And the wall's in great shape.
It would look nice.
Yeah.
It would look nice.
Right.
But I got something to own.
I know.
Jane Golden sees the city of Philadelphia itself as a large canvas, a work of art in progress.
I don't say that what we do is a silver bullet or a magic potion. I am saying that what we do shows us the powerful catalytic role that art can play in healing the wounds of a city.
The traditional Chinese painting of Lily Ye is far smaller in scope.
Looking at the Chinese hand scroll is like going on a journey. You can enter into the painting slowly. Here we're coming to the lake and there's a fisherman. In Chinese landscape painting, they always fish alone. And I love this house. I often imagine being inside.
Lily Ye is a mystic and a scholar. Born in Taiwan, the daughter of a Chinese general.
My father was born very poor and an orphan, and so he had to join the military. And then he rose very high. He became a general, and he loved landscape. I would paint, and the first person I show would be my father. I grew up with a loving family, although my parents fought a lot.
Lily's mother was determined her children succeed.
All her 5 children came one by one. We got scholarship, we all came, and we all studied, we all got our degree. So that's my mom. I spent 40-some years here, more than any other places. And Philadelphia is the place I call home.
Like the Chinese mystics of old, Lily believes spirit voices guide you along the path of life. When the spirits whispered she'd divert her path, Lily chose to ignore them.
And the sun was coming down. I was painting, and I felt something, and I said, no, I can't, not yet. And thinking back, that was a calling. That was a calling. I didn't know what it was, but I said, no, I'm not ready. And because I knew if I responded to it, it will be my life. It will be all-consuming.
In 1986, the spirits again spoke, this time through Arthur Hall, founder of Philadelphia's Black Foundation Center. Arthur asked Lily to head a public art project on some abandoned lots in the Village, one of the toughest African-American neighborhoods in North Philly.
And I almost didn't do it because I am trained a painter and I didn't know, I have no carpentry skill or outdoor skill, nothing, you know, and don't know how to do the soil either. Especially when people say, kids going to destroy everything you build and you're Chinese and this is African American and it's dangerous and so forth. Everybody say you must not do that. And I said, well, you know, people, expert must be right. And as I was deciding to withdraw, and I remember distinctly the voice in me said, you must rise to the occasion, otherwise the best of you will die. And then the rest will not amount to anything. I think that was very powerful because I didn't want to look at myself and see a coward in the mirror. I always feel that I am such a small person and not have a lot of skills. And the only thing that gave me courage is that I want my life count.
The Village Art Project has evolved into a fanciful world of, well, it's hard for anyone but Lily to describe.
This wall is the wall of the magical night. And you have all kinds of fantastic flowers kind of cosmic tree-like flowers reaching to the sky. And you have the stars, and you have 3 spaceships. So village is going 21st century. The park is completely open. And so we put guardian birds, guardian figures, angels to protect the area. Those are memorial pools. This one is so spectacular. I think it looks like the sunflower with the vines growing on that. So it's like a tree of life. The houses there, that's Love House. They're holding hands and they're so happy. So they're blinking with light. You see the orange color? This is me.
The village today is an evolving artwork in which people live and recreate. The neighborhood unfolds like one of Lily's scroll paintings.
And you're controlling each inch, each foot you move leads you to the next one. And so by the end of the journey, we can be world apart. But it's the small action, and especially the action that nobody knows, but we know ourselves. That's what began the journey.
Miss Lily's like the best. She found this place. Without her, we wouldn't be here. Without the village, without Miss Lily found the village, it won't be no stuff around here for us to do. We'd probably just be in the street doing nothing.
In addition to school children, Lily found disciples like Big Man, Jojo, and Leon. Lives transformed like the bits of broken china and glass they fashion into magnificent mosaic artifices.
To make me feel that I was really good at what I was doing, you know what I'm saying? But the nature of her inspirational kind of thing, I thought, I found out that it was a little bit of subterfuge in that, you know, because it wasn't that good, but she inspired me that would make me come back time and time again and continue to try to do, and also at the same time improve the talent that I had. You know, I'm forever grateful.
This is Big Man's work with all the decorations and stars and so forth. So it's very beautiful. Big Man never did any artwork before. Now he is a master mosaic artist.
It changed my life from the life that I used to live in this community and the life I live right now. You know, like before it was on a very destructive path, and now it's, you know, like been constantly trying to help build, you know what I'm saying, something positive for the community. So like that gives me, you know, like a wonderful feel right now about what I do and the community that I serve.
I'm Leon Saunders, and I started with Lily when our first wall. We did our first wall over here, the big rainbow with the village under the bottom, and I was the artist. I was one of the artists. Yep. When I was doing the mural with Lily, I had some problems. I wasn't working, and you know, I mean, my life was going downhill, and so whenever I can, I come down here and I help Big Man or whatever he wants to do, and I'm just here for the communities. This is where I came from.
Had done wonders for the mental psyche of this community because prior to that, you know, like it was just known for those horrible, devastating things that would happen in a, you know, like in a downtrodden urban, you know, like community, you know. But like we've given it somewhat of a new celebratory status. You know what I'm saying? That people come in on tour buses just to come in and see and be able to experience the things that we've created.
I always feel the journey starts here and now. It lies in the very small, modest act nobody sees, but true to one's heart.
Here in North Philadelphia, the spirits move in mysterious ways, their wonders to perform. The past few years have seen the stabilization of Philadelphia's population and even a budding new migration of young adults seeking Philly's affable neighborhoods and affordable housing. New construction and the rehabilitation of classic buildings are on the rise.
What differentiates our company from others is that while most other developers were going further out into the suburbs, creating more sprawl, we saw an opportunity to come back into the city, to take undervalued assets, areas that weren't being utilized at all, and being able to bring them back and revitalize the city and the area.
This is Pradera Homes. It's one of the first mixed-income homeownership housing that's been built in this part of North Philadelphia
for many years. It's 50 units total. It creates a new neighborhood. It's 2 blocks from a supermarket. There's plans to build a school. We also feel that it represents the type of housing development that acknowledges the need for green space and open space and to give people their own yards.
I think Philadelphia is doing great. I mean, we've never been prouder of the work that we've done in neighborhoods, particularly over the course of the last 4.5 years. Our neighborhoods are cleaner, they're safer, they're greener, and there's market rate housing and low-income housing and public housing, and there's all kind of great things going on in Philadelphia neighborhoods.
As Motown is to Detroit, so Gamble and Huff are to what can only be described as the Philadelphia sound.
It was an experience. The Philly sound experience is the life and times of Philadelphia, our perspective of the world from a Philadelphia view. We wrote songs for many great artists, and many of the songs had social commentary to it. In fact, the code name for our music was there was a message in the music.
Strong survive. Hey, you gotta be strong. You better hold on.
After a career that earned him and his partner 175 gold and platinum records for hits like Love Train and Only the Strong Survive, Kenny Gamble could relax in splendor any place in the world.
Our music was called The Sound of Philadelphia, and it's the Philly sound, so you can't have the Philly sound in Los Angeles. And we used to write songs about the neighborhoods and how devastated the neighborhoods were. And so this one thing led to another.
Looking to give something back to the source of his inspiration, in 1990, Gamble and his wife Fatima sold their mansion in the suburb of Gladwin to move with their 4 children into a rehabilitated brick row house in the heart of the dangerous South Philly neighborhood where Kenny grew up. Since then, it has been their mission to rebuild the area into a thriving, multi-income community. Today, Universal Companies, the nonprofit firm Kenny Gamble founded, is an important catalyst in turning South Philly around.
A lot of people talk about doing things, but it's actually doing it is the other thing.
Well into the process to rebuild or revitalize over 2,000 homes, the organization relies on a mix of private donations and public grants and has already invested $200 million into a variety of projects.
We believe through our research that how do you change that quality of life is to find out how the neighborhoods got in such bad repair and devastation in the first place. And we found out that education is the #1 priority of Universal Companies.
Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can.
Kenny Gamble and Universal Companies are tackling local education by managing 3 of South Philadelphia's public schools and 2 charter schools.
Education is, we believe, the root of your success or your failure. So if you have a good grasp of the educational system, you have a good system, you have teachers and parents and everyone working together, then hopefully you'll have a wonderful educational experience. And at Universal, that's what we take pride in, everyone working together to achieve the highest level of excellence.
I want to be a lawyer, RN nurse, pediatrician, a neonatologist. I want to be a doctor.
He had this vision of a community, all living and people working together, many races, mixed income levels, excellent schools, affordable homes that people wanted to take pride in. And now he's beginning to see his dream come true.
When your soul is satisfied, when you actually feel as though that you are doing what you were born to do, that your life is really worthwhile, then life becomes something that's worth living.
The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, just you and me.
Philadelphia has been the home of numerous valiant men and women. Their monuments dominate many of the city's public areas, heroes remembered on a grand scale. There is no such tribute to Michael Ellis. In fact, there are a few remaining photographs of the young father of four who died in 1997 at age 33. Michael wasn't perfect. Who among us is? Yet his small acts of kindness touched people in this Fishtown neighborhood around Belgrade Street. Ed and Loretta Ellis remember their son.
There's a lot of good memories to remember about Michael. Ask the neighbors around here, the neighbors who wanted their door fixed, who wanted someone to go to the store for them, who wanted someone to go take them shopping. It was always Michael. Michael, will you help me with this? Michael, can you fix this? Michael, can you do that? And Michael was always there for all of them.
While Michael was popular in the neighborhood, Ed kept to his own backyard. He made it his sanctuary. A retired grocer and Navy radar man for 20 years, Ed had little interest in his neighbors or they in him. Like so much of Philadelphia, as Fishtown deteriorated, Ed found himself living across the street from a huge acre of rubble. Night dumpers added to the eyesore, illegally unloading old car parts and junk under the protection of darkness.
When I worried about my yard, my garden, I didn't worry about across the street here because I closed my eyes. But one of my children couldn't.
Michael saw this unofficial junkyard as prime real estate to build a playground.
And he grabbed his 3 sons and brought them over here, and the 4 of them got busy cleaning it off while I was working on my yard. And they did that for 4 or 5 weekends in a row.
And then life played one of its cruel tricks.
He got involved with drugs, and he OD'd. It's unfortunate, but then things happen. It's the bane of all society now, that drugs.
I have 7 sons and 2 daughters. So I think that he's missed by all of them because he's always mentioned. And of course, his children live close by.
His children came before he did. And yes, it came before his drugs, too. That was the only thing that kept him alive as long as it did, was his kids.
Without Michael, the Midnight Dumpers returned. All traces of Michael's work began to disappear, like he'd never existed.
So one day I was sitting over there and I thought, well, the hell with it. I can't let it go back to the way it was. So I come over here and I started cleaning it off again. And I did that for about 2 weekends and no helper. I was just doing it myself.
Ed had no master plan, just combat sorrow with hard work. Others took notice.
Paul Maurer come down the street, seen what I was doing and asked me if I needed some help. So then I, sure.
And he said, well, I just want to clean right now. And he stayed with me and we began to just clean it and keep it tucked. And then we started talking more as time went on and he said, you know, it'd be nice to make a garden out of that. We contacted Philly Green.
Philadelphia Green offered to help, but with that one catch again. Ed couldn't do it alone. He needed the consent and help of his neighbors.
Well, I didn't know my neighbors. I didn't know anybody. I only lived here. And I knocked on doors, told them what I was doing, why I was doing it, and how Philadelphia Green was involved, and what we hoped to do, and would they come and we'll meet together in the backyard is the way I put it.
We had meetings over at his yard, and the people themselves designed what they wanted to see here.
2 years and many cups of lemonade later, we developed a plan, and this is what was come out of the plan.
Today, Belgrade Park is an important gathering place in Fishtown. Ed, well, he's blossomed too.
All right now, what's your problem?
Right, children? Everybody loves Mr. Ed and his ducks and roosters and everything, and it's just a pleasure, and this garden means a lot. We bring out books and sit down and read and have little picnics, and we don't have to go too far. It's great. It's wonderful.
Ed relies on Yankee ingenuity to pay for the plants and supplies needed to maintain the park.
The neighbors give me aluminum cans, which I take around and sell them. And at 38 cents a pound, at times when the money's real good, all right, at 38 cents a pound, it ain't long before you got $30, $40 to which you can go do something with. You can always find a way to get around the cost, all right? Somebody will always come up with some way to make it happen.
The impact of Belgrade Park spreads beyond its boundaries.
George seen what we did over there, and he just wanted to do something, and this is what he did. Just last week, he was sitting there on his chair, tired of looking at graffiti on his wall. He said, "The heck with that, that ain't his wall." He said, "The heck with what they think." And he grabbed his paintbrush and out he went. He's not an artist, he works for the city. He works cleaning up the sewers and drains and stuff. That's what he does by trade. This is what he does in his spare time.
Belgrade Park is more than a hobby for Ed.
I'd probably be dead. I don't do anything else but this. I get up in the morning and come over here and I spend my day. I talk to my neighbors from over here. They all know me as Ellis, the rose garden guy. At 71 years old, what am I going to do? This is my recreation. This in Atlantic City every 2 months. Michael would have appreciated this park as much as he would have playground.
And everybody accepts the fact that it's in his memory that this was built.
Ed also uses the hard work as a means to move on.
You see, it's hard if you let it be hard. You got to come out here and, well, like I do, I come out here and I work, and if something's really bothering me, I come out here and pitter around in the garden a little bit, all right? Or clean it up, or rip the bushes apart and put them in again and change it around to the way, depending on, I don't let it get me down, all right? You just keep fighting on. Well, you have to if you want to live life. We just went through it ourselves, didn't we, with 9/11. It was bad for the whole country, wasn't it? We all have our trials and tribulations. We all get up and go and make each day better than the day before and push at it, right? That's the way we do it.
The story of Philadelphia starts with that of an errant son attempting to honor the memory of his father. It ends with a father honoring his errant son. For 300 years, Philadelphia remains a wondrous work in progress.
It's exciting to be here as things are changing, as Philadelphia is reinventing itself, as you see these former industrial structures around the city being reoccupied. It's just an exciting time to be in Philadelphia.
Well, when I think about the future of Philadelphia, I hope that one of the things that we will be able to maintain is the activism, like the Mural Arts Program or the Village of Arts and Humanities or the many community gardens all over the city.
Philadelphia's got sort of a spirit, it has a soul. And it's not always pretty, but it has one. And there's a lot of places in this country and around the world that don't have a soul and don't have a spirit. And it's here. It's not all pretty, but it's here. And that's what attracts me.
It attracts me too. And now you know why I'm very pleased to call this city my home. William Penn saw Philadelphia as a utopian community, an open canvas for people to paint their own destiny, nurtured by freedom and protected by its natural beauty. To make this place a sustainable Eden doesn't come without effort. Like Ed Ellis, we must get up and go make each day better than before. For as different as we all are, Philadelphians share a common vision, that in this very special holy place, love is stronger than sorrow, and hope burns bright.
Now we're going to fill this in with color. And
for the top part or the bottom part?
Huh?
Top part?
Yeah, the whole top part, and bring the red down and around and fill in there.
To learn more about your sustainable environment and how to bring your community together, visit us at pbs.org. Major funding for Eden's Lost and Found was made possible by CDM, a global consulting firm that seeks to create lasting environmental and infrastructure solutions to strengthen a community's future. The Scott's Miracle-Gro Company, dedicated to the sustainability of a beautiful world through environmental stewardship. The John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. The Boeing Company, committed to ongoing innovation in environmental conservation. Boeing, Forever New Frontiers. William Penn Foundation, advancing Greater Philadelphia as a vital, just, and caring community. Additional funding by Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, the Illinois Sustainable Education Project, APTA, FJC, Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, and Philadelphia Water Department.